Hello and welcome into the SorareData Football Strategy Show. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always by Sean Newsham, PSU fans too. Today, to talk about one thing, but really to talk about another. Sean is a little upset this morning because of the Sorare announcements. And to be honest, one of the announcements actually kind of destroyed one of the topics we were going to have, or basically our topic today, or at least some examples of what we were going to talk about. And so I feel like I should have seen this coming, Sean. Like whenever we schedule something and then Sorare's like, hey, we have an announcement. It's like, well, obviously we'll just end up talking about that. But one of the announcements, which I think a lot of people are happy about, you are not. But it kind of throws off what we were going to talk about today. First off, how do you feel about a later deadline?
It's moronic. It was done without much thought, per usual. Look, I get it. I get it's a simple people only care about themselves thing, right? And like people that don't have Asian cards, like, woo, you got fucked. I didn't, woo, and that's just not ideal. Like, if you have a significant portion of the Asian gallery today, you just took a massive hit to your gallery. It's that simple. I just think that there are many ways to have done it better than how they did. Now we'll see. I don't think this is going to be the final iteration. I popped into general, Laird. You know how often I do that.
Wow, you did.
I popped into general because it's that stupid, and it's just annoying. It's just a poor thought out move that it's like, all right, guys, these are the options we have. We have this option or this option. When in reality, they have like 15 options. So it's like this option, we fuck these people. This option, we fuck these people.
I'm gonna have to put the explicit warning on this show.
And the answer, when in real reality, the answer is, hey, we could do this that doesn't really harm either group that much, and that isn't what they go with. It's like the whole like black and white discussion, like whether like things are always fall between like black and white. Well, there's a gray area, and the gray area is generally where the right answer is, and they just didn't even think of the gray area here. So it's a hit to people. I think it was poorly thought out. It is not surprising they went and look, I understand why they went this way. They went this way because they don't care about the Asian region. It's that simple. We've talked about it before. They showed they didn't care about the Asian region before. Plus, you now have the current rumor going around that J League will not be licensed, which Nicholas made his tweets about, saying that it would be effectively. So we'll have to wait and see what that comes out with. But overall, it's just a ginormous hit to people's galleries. And like I said, and Zura actually tweeted, and then he deleted the tweet, I think, because people were not happy. But he basically said, he's like, if you have a balanced gallery, this doesn't hurt you. Literally, if you have a balanced gallery, it hurts you the most. Unless you just have an Asian gallery, and then you're just fucked.
Yeah, then you're really dead. Yeah.
Like I would say I have arguably the most balanced gallery on the platform, or very close to it. Like I have every region. I play heavily in every region. Like I play heavily in Asia. I play heavily in America. I play heavily in Europe. I play heavily in Challenger Europe. And you just take a massive hacksaw to like your entire region and just nerf it down. Now I'm not exactly sure how big the impact will be. I know there will be an impact, and it's not going to be great, but I don't know exactly how it is, because I was talking about it actually with AJ before the show, because he went and looked last year, and there was like not that massive of an impact to J League. He checked one team though; he didn't check every team. But if my memory serves me correctly, you can tell me if this is accurate. Last time they did this dumb shit, there was like that 4-hour window where there was no game week going, where it was like It ended at this time and started at this time.
Yeah, I think part of that, I think a big part of that was the trying to deliver rewards before the next game week so you could use them in the next game week, which is like what they do in NBA. But it didn't work.
I don't think there's a need for that anyways. Like I get it. You want to play your rewards and stuff, but like it's one game week. It's not that big of a deal if you get them the next game week. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it matters that much personally. But so yeah, I just think it was a poorly thought after. I mean, look, you and I both agree what the proper answer is, and it's rolling lock. And we both agree that that's like the proper answer. I know others will disagree, but I don't want to get into that too much today. But I have two solutions that greatly impact this news for everyone. So tell me if this makes sense to you and if you agree that there's no negative consequences to this solution compared to the announcement.
Okay.
Number one, when there are no Asian games, the deadline is 10 a.m. Eastern. When there are no European games, the deadline is 6 a.m. Eastern. So 6 months of the year you effectively cover by making the deadline proper for what's going on at the time. Would you agree that that is beneficial for everyone?
I do. The fact that they have moving deadlines for NBA
Correct.
make it really difficult for me to understand why it's impossible for football.
Correct. Agreed.
And it's simple. Like the NBA solution is simple. Like we know what the first game is. 10 minutes before that is the lock. And I just really struggle to see why football doesn't follow that. For those of you, for people who don't play Asia or don't know kind of what this schedule is like, can you go through kind of why moving the deadline up? Presumably it's like, oh, it's only 4 hours. Like, what's the difference? Can you explain to people who don't play with Asia cards why that's a problem?
Apparently the K-League gets really fucked.
Yeah, the K-League
J-League isn't that bad, and K-League is really bad. So if a team plays at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and then they play at
Eastern.
What?
10 a.m. Eastern?
Yeah, 10 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, and then they play at 8 a.m. Eastern on Friday. There's not two separate game weeks there. Both games get put into the midweek game slot, and therefore the second game effectively is useless, and you just lose it, and you never get the utility for that game, and it's gone. And that is an issue because you lose, let's say, 10 to 20% of the games get impacted, and you lose utility from them. And the teams that are most impacted are typically the good teams that are in the Champions League that have more games, therefore more congestion, therefore more midweek. So like you're looking at like Ulsan and teams like that are in the Champions League, and they likely are going to lose a good chunk of their games for the season. Let's call it 10 to 20%. So just outright removing 10 to 20% of utility on a card is terrible. And this is just so that the European region can see some press conferences where maybe, like I would say there's like one actual piece of news typically during that time frame a lot. Like there's not much. Like you do get a little bit sometimes, but you typically do not get much from the press conferences. But now granted, like I totally understand why you want the press conferences, because one piece of info, like last game week, I woke up and I had 6 teams dead between this time frame, between the like me sleeping. But actually, a couple of them were like before I woke up anyways, and it was just because I was sleeping, not because of this time frame. But let's say there's 1 or 2 pieces of actionable info between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. Eastern. Yes, you want that. But you don't want it at the expense of literally losing 20% of utility. And the reason that I say that this matters and like this is what, like, imagine the backlash if they did this to like Europe and you just got fucked if you're in Europe and like you're in Champs League and you just ate shit because you have a game on Tuesday and a game on Friday.
Yeah, so I think somebody mentioned in chat, and actually before I do that, thank you to everybody who has joined us, because it seems like some people are very passionate about this. You guys can hit the like button, that's helpful. So Bullstar was saying they need to keep it simple. Rolling locks aren't as simple. And while I disagree with that in itself, like if you just say the lock is 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour before the first game of that competition, like that seems easy enough. I do think it gets a little sloppy though. It's not that it's hard, but it is more complicated if you have 5 lineups with 5 different entry deadlines. Like I think that gets sloppy.
I don't think rolling lock is confusing at all. I think rolling lock is the least confusing of everything. Your game, it locks when the game starts with your player. That is very simple. There's no confusion.
Right, but it's not that it's confusing. But if you're like, okay, the deadline for Asia is 6 a.m., the deadline for All Star is 10 a.m., or not all, for Champion Europe is 2 o'clock. These are Eastern times because that's where we are. And MLS is Friday at 8. Like it feels complex. I know it's not, but it's easy for them to be like, here's our single deadline. And Pyrrha says, if locks are complex, then RIP users understanding the new progression system. Frankly, I read the announcement and I was like, this is the most confusing thing I've ever seen.
I don't understand.
And I've been here for 2 years.
It made no sense. The progression, like all the cap mode, the 270 cap mode, the 220, it didn't make sense. I don't really care. But I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah, I think just ultimately that they're looking for the easiest solution, but it feels like they found the easiest solution for them instead of the easiest solution for the user. And I don't think they're really appreciating how frustrating it is, both mentally and financially, to have cards that have games that just don't count. That like we enter these tournaments, we buy these cards to enter these tournaments, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, that 1/8 Cecina rare you bought, it doesn't count this game week. Or this game that he's just smashed 100 doesn't count because the 48 earlier in the week does. And you're just like, oh, because it's the 3-hour difference? And they're like, yeah, that's why.
Dogs
and that's it.
I'll let you go for a second, then I'll go.
So I love how passionate your dogs are today on like they probably feel like you're like anger about this and they get all fired up.
No, FedEx guy's here.
But yeah, it's just like I said, it's not complex. Bull Stars, not complex. It's just time consuming. That appears complex, but I don't know. It just felt funny to me because they moved the deadline specifically for the reason to get these games to have utility, and now they're just like, never mind.
No,
I mean it's been a while, but like that was the reason the deadline moved.
This is why there's issue, right? This isn't the first move. The first move that I remember, the first move that I was on platform was to fuck Asia. And everyone lost their shit because they fucked Asia. And then they moved it back within a month. It was like a month and a half. It was honestly the quickest they've ever like reverted to something else. And then we've been on this deadline for like a year and a half or whatever. And now they have gone back to the same thing. And everyone's pissed because they fucked Asia. So they effectively just did the same thing.
But not everybody's pissed.
No, the people with Asian cards are pissed. Same thing last time. So
it's very clear not everyone is pissed.
When you're looking at the solution, and the solution is, okay, this option makes no one pissed off. This option makes 80% of the people pissed off. This option makes 20% of the people pissed off. It's not a hard decision to choose the one that doesn't piss off anyone, but they do not even look at that one. They look at the one that pisses off two groups of people.
I don't think the number is 0. I don't think rolling locks is a 0.
I'm not even saying the rolling lock part. I'm saying the like when Europe isn't playing, change the lock time. When Asia isn't playing, change the lock time. That one isn't rolling lock. That's just changing it to impact what games are being played. Like there's no reason the lock's at 6 a.m. when Asia's not playing. There's no reason for that. Same reason there's no reason that it's at 10 a.m. when Europe is in the summer sitting on the beach. Like there's no reason for that. That's an impactful change that covers half of the year that doesn't piss anyone off. Everyone's like, all right, yeah, that's logical and makes sense. Whereas, yes, I agree right now, they decided to piss off a smaller subset of the user base. That's not good. Like that's not good to just stack up 20% of users, bam, slap right across the face. Like that's not a good option. And I understand the other option was like I have cards in both regions. To me, it is a no-brainer that this is worse than what it was. To me. And I have cards in both regions. I will be positively impacted by the European change, and I will be negatively impacted by the change within Asia. I don't think it's even close how much worse it is now than what it was yesterday. And that's my opinion on that. I understand that people that don't have Asian cards don't care about the Asian region. Like, I understand that. I understand that people that don't have European cards wouldn't care about the European season. Like, I get it. I just think that it needs to be a more thought out process and idea that is more functional for everyone. That's why, like, I'm not getting into argument of the rolling locks today. I don't think this is the time to talk about it. We've talked about it before. I don't think rolling locks is a more time consuming process necessarily, because you're giving up more time at different times during the week instead of having to spend more time before the game week starts where there's no info. So at least at that time, you're like spending time when there's actually actionable info to make your decisions. So it's just a different use of your time is my thought with rolling lock. And I also said, like, someone in actually Bullstar, if you're still here, it might have been Bullstar that said it in general Discord today, but you can make lineups. Like, let's say you have 10 lineups. So you can make a lineup where it's like during the middle of your sleep night, you just put all those guys together. And if they don't play, who cares? Like, you wasted 1 week because you didn't want to wake up for it. Or if you want to wake up for it, you wake up for it and you make the adjustments. So you can choose what your lineup setup is to sort of match up with what time the games are. Like, it just, to me, it doesn't take very much to be like, all right, the game starts at 2 p.m., 1 p.m. I'm going to sit there and pull up the lineup and see who's in. Or vice versa. Oh, it's 3 a.m. Do I really want to wake up for this? No. All right, I'm just going to put them in this lineup, and then I'm not going to wake up. And if they play, they play. If not, no big deal.
So a few people have mentioned something that I mentioned to you when we were right after the announcement. Does double game week best ball work as a solution? I'm not saying it's like, let me rephrase. Does getting the best score of the 2 games in a double game week make it good enough that this is okay?
I think it's actually worse. I think it's worse for people. No, it's worse. Like, I would rather have that. Like, I'd rather be able to play best ball. So
That's
like,
what I mean,
would give up. I would probably be fine giving up 20% of my Asian card utility to play best ball 20% of the time. So to me, it's I don't think it's a fair change. I mentioned in the Sorare general Discord, but I mentioned it more as like, this is asinine, but your decision was asinine, so might as well do it the other way instead. Like, I don't think we should do best ball in that format, but like, it at least offsets your utility. But I guess it's like another thing. Like, what do you think? Do you think playing best ball 20% of the time is better or worse than losing the game weeks? Like, what would you rather have? Because maybe it's a thing where it is a pretty balanced thing. The issue is, like, it's going to be pretty difficult to like compete in global when I'm just playing best ball with like a Merino stack, right? If I'm able to play best ball with a Merino stack 20% of the time, it's going to be really strong. So I don't think it's a fair option personally, but it's asinine, just like the option they chose.
I think so. First off, I think the double game week rules are like absurd, and they improved them recently to something that was like slightly less absurd, but also the fact that they just don't do the highest score seems stupid to me. It's like completely arbitrary. So basically what they used to have was, if you for those who are new or don't even know what the rule is, the double game week rule was, if your player was in the squad for the first game, that's the score they got, whether they played or not. Then they changed it, I believe, to they had to play. So if they were stuck on the bench, the old rule was they got 0. And even if they banged 100 in the second game, it didn't matter. So then it was if they didn't play at all. So if they were on the bench but didn't play, you would get the score of the second game, which I think is the current rule now.
Yes, it is.
In what universe is that solution better than just getting the highest score of the game week? Like, you're not choosing which game they're playing in. Like, it's completely out of our hands. You're basically losing the utility of the best game. And like, we have seen instances where players like Liverpool, what was that, 2 weeks ago, where they end up like smashing the second game and like didn't matter, or maybe they got smashed the second. It was the Allison like 0, right, or whatever.
I think they were terrible the second.
They were terrible in the second game,
yeah.
But everybody who had Liverpool cards, like, you sit down to watch your players, but the game doesn't matter from an SO5 perspective because they already played that game, and they're like, it's just a bad rule. That's all. So anyway, so if you do it for the Asian games now, the one thing that I kind of wanted to bring up with this whole, like, you'll get the best game of the Tuesday or Friday, means Tuesday and Friday mornings for us. Do you want that advantage in the game weeks that generally have worse rewards? Like, midweek rewards are usually worse.
I need to get back to two previous comments from people. So Bullstar said, if you can have the best score, the Asian cards will be way OP when they have double game weeks. Agreed, 100%. That's why I don't think it's a viable strategy. So like, if you saw me post that in general, just know I was taking the piss because it is stupid. So Germ.Sorare said, and this is the one I want to comment on. So changing the deadline time just to implement better ball rule is an even bigger L for Sorare, creating a fire to put one out. So literally what they did is what you're saying. Them changing the deadline to a new deadline is creating a fire to put one out. That's literally what they did. I
think they're saying changing it to then add best ball.
Correct, but they shouldn't have changed it in general. Like, changing it to what it is now, like, is stupid. Like, I am talking from a person that owns cards in both regions. I think, would you agree, Laird, that if you own, you don't own very many cards in Asia, do you?
Not anymore.
You have a few. But like, would you agree that if you own cards in Asia and you own cards everywhere, like, this would be a net negative to your gallery, right?
For sure.
So the thing is like, from a non-buy, I feel like I'm biased, obviously, because I have a lot of Asian cards. But like, if you have a gallery that is balanced and across all regions, this is bad for you. I feel that if that is the case, and if you have a balanced gallery across all regions and it is bad for you, that is bad. Like, if you're in Europe, like, and you have no Asian cards, you're like, yeah, cool, this doesn't affect me at all. It just fucks over other people. Awesome. But if you're in Asia, you're just like, wow, I just literally lost 20% of the utility on my cards, and that sucks. Like, that is the net result is definitely a fire, Germ. They created a new fire. They put out one fire to create a new fire with this deadline, because I did not care about the previous deadline, because to me it was pretty reasonable how things were. I mean, is there better alternatives? Yes. Like, we've already established there are better alternatives that they could have went with. But they went from one pile of shit to a bigger pile of shit to me. It's not close. I don't think it's close. I think it's a much worse situation. But I also understand where there are a subset of people, and probably the majority of people are happy with this because it fucks over other people, not them. Obviously, you're happy if something fucks over people that aren't you. Like, that's great. Germ is agreeing with me. I think we just had a mistranslation of words here. But yeah, so it's just like it's just a situation where I just think that there are far, far superior alternatives. And Perez was messaging elsewhere off this. He said J League's not really impacted by this, and in K League, like, you lose a pretty good chunk of games, like, let's say 6 to 8 games in K League. He didn't say numbers, so if I'm wrong on 6 to 8, Perez, you can correct me. But he's saying he's like, J League, you might lose 1 or 2. K League, you're losing a few more. But either way, like, I mean, I know people that, if McBride's here, McBride was livid when Celtic wasn't covered during the Global Cup situation, which was, again, stupid. Really.
That's just a purely arbitrary decision.
Yeah, it was a purely arbitrary, moronic decision. It was just terrible. And it was and this is like, you're doing this to Asia intentionally now multiple times. I also want to say, like, I'm obviously being critical here, but unlike sometimes when you'll pop into Discord and you just see people just calling everyone morons, they're not. They're making tough decisions that they have to try to look at it and be like, this is what we have. Like, for all I know, they don't have the technology available to do stuff like this. I find that hard to believe, but it's possible. And so, like, they had to look at it like, we only have these two options available today. And this one sucks for 80% of the user base. This one sucks for 20% of the user base. We got to go with this one. So, like, I'm not saying they're dumb. Like, I use terms like asinine and moronic and shit like that. Like, yeah, I use those terms, but I don't think they're dumb and moronic. I think they're making a decision that they probably have the info available to them, and they're making what they deem is the best option and answer to this situation. I just think so. Like realistically, like you just have to hope that people are trying their best to make the right decisions, and I do think they're doing that. I just think that they are off base and not making the correct decision. But it's not that they're not trying to make the best decision. They're trying to make the best decision for the platform, and that's all they can do. I just think there are better options that maybe they did not think about, and stuff like that. And also, like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't heard much bitching about the deadline. Like the bitching about the deadline is like, why is it not rolling lock? It's never like, oh, this deadline is that awful at 6 a.m. I haven't heard that one recently that much.
Yeah, you're wrong. The number of like Bundesliga press conferences or Premier League ones that we get at basically 10 a.m. Eastern, like the news, like, oh, nothing has happened and so has been ruled out. Like that happens more than enough. And I only hear people complaining about it with the European cards, like,
yeah.
But I disagree that like nobody's complaining about.
No, I mean that's fair. That's fair. I don't talk to that as many people about. Like I just hear people complain all the time, and I'm just like, whatever. Like most of the time, I just don't care. Like I complain about stuff like this seldomly. Like I think I show up in general Discord like once every 6 months recently. I think they've done a great job over the last like 6 months. I think there's been a lot of improvements over the last 6 months. Yeah, there's still the issues with the rewards that I think should have been fixed 2 years ago, but overall, I think there's been a lot of improvements, and it's pretty clear that they've been doing more things and more active with improving things, or at least trying to over the last 6 months. So I've given them credit for that. Like I've messaged Dan and said, hey, you guys did a good job. This was you could have done this, and I think it would have been better, but overall, like I think it was good. Like I've messaged Dan multiple times saying stuff like this.
Yeah, a few people in chat are referencing the Mbappe DNP from, was that last weekend?
Oh,
that everybody thought he was going to play.
I don't think it was announced till the day of the game. I'm pretty sure that the Mbappe one the week before was known, where he was like in New York City. That one was known. The one on the weekend where against Rennes, he was, I think it was just said like the day of the game it came out that he was not expected.
That he wasn't going to start. Okay.
Like you would have needed it. You would need the deadline to be Sunday. You would need a rolling lock, which again,
that's not really rolling lock though. That's late swap.
No,
like rolling lock's never going to have a deadline on Sunday.
In my opinion, rolling lock is 1 hour before is the start of the game. In my opinion, it's
for every game for every player.
Yeah, every player. It starts at the start of that player's game. So if the game is at 12 p.m., the lock for that player is at 12 p.m.
Yeah. Okay. Paolo said another big thing is that we could see lineups before the deadline and choose low L15 players in cap modes, especially with the U22 rule in the K League.
Sure.
How is that possible? Aren't the K League games over?
That would just add another. That would add another thing with it. It would honestly make the secondary market pretty good if you just see like, oh, this guy has a zero L10 or L15, and I can plop him in. Like, it might make you go buy players.
Mike Basson not trolling at all, saying wait until the Saudi League comes on and the deadline gets changed for that.
It's fine with me. I have Madron. Madron probably is a top 5 card in that league. So Madron's probably a top like 10 card in the platform if they get the Saudi League coverage. I sort of look at what he does for Al Tawoon, and it's like, yeah, I wish that card had utility over and over again.
Over and over again, yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So Alex just brought up the when A League question. When is the A League games? I don't know when their games are in terms of the rest of Asia, because I don't know how A League would be impacted by this. It could be great impact. It could be none. I really don't know when A League, because I was actually thinking of that earlier.
I'm looking right now. For this upcoming weekend, the first game is Friday 3:45 a.m.
Okay.
So that would have been midweek anyway.
Yeah.
And then the next game is Saturday at 1 a.m. So that's well off. Like,
no, they're actually, looks like A League is all over the place. A League is, but it's all over the place the other way. So A League, if you look at this week, it's 3:45 a.m., 1 a.m., 3:45 a.m., 6:30 a.m. That one would be impacted if it's on the wrong date. Then 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. So it actually seems like they're a little bit the other way compared to what J League is. Yeah, Mike Basson just said A League has all sorts of schedules. It looks like their times are
that's
all over the place. I think J League now has an island game week 1. I hope that it's Marinos because they play Frontale and it's a terrible matchup. But if it's an island game, then I'll just win.
Yeah. You'll just win?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, well, actually, they don't have the time listed right now, but the Frontail and Marinos play on Friday. So, actually, it's definitely an island game. So, Marinos and Kawasaki play Friday the 17th, and there's no other games on Friday. So, like, no matter what, it will be an island game because it'll be in the midweek. When are they're doing new deadlines?
Would they actually have it open with only 2?
They're a licensed team.
No, they're not.
Oh, that's valid.
Nope.
Yep. See, well, let me see. Let me check K-League, Laird.
You thought you were getting screwed before.
Yeah, now
here's your island game that now disappears because it's not licensed.
Start till the following weekend. Yeah, so literally as of right now, like J League. Someone asked this question earlier about whether or not we think J League's coming or losing its license. So off the site, whether or not that means that they are going to have the J League or not at this point, I don't know. But yeah, losing the J League, that's another thing we can talk about. I don't
think there's any speculation on that. Like they lost it.
I mean, there's speculation. They haven't came out and said they lost it.
I mean, they don't list it on their list of licensed clubs. I think
they
that's
didn't
enough.
Come out and say we lost it. I'm just saying.
Well, they don't have it, whether they lost it or whatever. Yes. Like it's not licensed.
So that's another thing. People, I don't think understand the detrimental impact that it will have.
I think it's actually not nearly as bad as people think, except for Asia.
Yeah, of course. Everywhere else is unimpacted.
But everything is theoretically impacted because like all of those J League cards are now not in All-Star U23 like rewards.
Yeah.
But if there are any other leagues that they might be adding that maybe are in Europe and is very popular all over the world and has actually more teams than J League, like the number of cards is actually just not that different. Correct. Like so in terms of eligible rewards.
So looking for food just said if J League doesn't get renewed, does that mean Sanfrecce stack becomes the new Zenit? No, it just means you're fucked. It just means you're fucked because Asian region will be there will be nothing with the Asian region. SR Monkey said they haven't lost it. It expired. They're still talking to them to renew.
I mean, it's
Means,
semantics. They don't have it right now,
which means they lost it. But yes, like as far as we know, they're still discussing. Mike Basson said the same thing. So hopefully they renew it. But like, yes. So in terms of what you're saying, so when Russia got removed from Challenger Europe, the impact was less than it will be in Asia because it got removed from Challenger Europe. That's probably like 8% of Challenger Europe, give or take. I don't know. So like if you lose 8% of the Challenger Europe prize pool, it's not as noticeable. So like let's say you go down from 100 rewards to 92. That's not as impactful. If J League is gone and they don't have J League, it cuts like 70% off of the Asian region. So it means the Asian region will have, instead of 100 rewards, they're going to give 30. And you still have to battle with all of the J League cards in the region because they're still going to be eligible. Also, when the J League plays and the K League does not, it won't even open. So like the first week of the J League season, there won't.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And so like basically if you have Asian cards, the Asian region is just incredibly fucked and it's just non-existent anymore. Because like you're not buying these cards to run them in the Asian region where you're going to get, there might be like 1,000 people in the competition for like 5 rewards. Like there's going to be no rewards because the only rewards are going to be the K League cards. So it's a massive detriment to the Asian region. And maybe that's why they made this move today. Cause they're just like, hey, fuck the Asian region. We don't care. And we're just moving it because like we don't have the J League. So who cares a shit?
So the point of this show was supposed to be like the undervalued cards, and a lot of the discussion was about how a lot of J League and K League cards are undervalued when you're looking at scores of players and how you can use those in All-Star and U23. And while those cards are still available, we may not get new J League ones anytime soon. But like Sean, you have said like over and over and over again, just like how much the people who have Asia cards get screwed. But you don't, like you didn't buy all of the better J League players to play the Asia competitions.
That's not totally true. I will do that on occasion. And like my
Right,
game
but you
one,
do it on occasion, but like that wasn't the point.
no, that's not true because the point is that I was fine running them in the Asian region. I will run good cards in the Asian region too. Like I don't run that many Asian cards in Global All Star or U23. Like typically the Asian cards I run are in the Asian region.
They are now. I think if you went back, you
Maybe.
were
I mean, yes.
way more heavily Asian cards in All Star. Like I mean, that's originally why you bought some of those, like the uniques.
So
All-Star, not
Daniel
to win
came in
Asia
and
unique.
Daniel said, as a K-League manager, I'm feeling pretty horrible right now. Definitely understand that, Daniel. You got kicked in the nutsack. Like straight up, they just drop kicked your ass. And it's unfortunate. And I don't really like that decision. I don't even have that many K-League cards. I stay out of the K-League for the most part. I don't like the whole worrying about whether my guy's going to go to the military for 2 years part of things. So I don't have many K League players that are impactful. I try to stay in the J League, but it doesn't matter. The region's just fucked. Like if they don't have the license for J League, like good luck. Like there's no point in having any cards in the Asian region. Which again, so someone else mentioned, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think they give a shit about the Asian region? They're just like planning for the Prem and hoping the Prem like takes off and they don't care about Asia. Would you agree with that assessment?
They have to care. Like their goals are too big. Their goals are bigger than just like everyone who plays FPL. And so you need to be able to have a base in every part of the globe. And you can't just skip out on the J League. Like that's all it is. It's like I think they got MLB because they're like, we want to be this like huge fantasy sports empire, but it's like just to have it, to say like, look what we have. And it's weird to me to be like, look at all these leagues we have. We have the Bundesliga, we have the Jupiler League, we have La Liga, and like to just randomly not have the J League, which, I mean, I'm not here to say like the J League is one of the best leagues in the world. Apologies for those who think that. But it's like an important one worldwide enough where it's silly that they wouldn't have it. Like that's all it is. It'd just be weird that they wouldn't have it.
Yeah, but they just don't care. They care about when Prem. That seems to be like where every single comment or text is like when Prem for everyone.
But then what happens when they get the Prem?
Then they just hope the Prem carries them, and that's all they care about.
And that's all yeah, I think that's a mistake.
Maybe. I get okay. So you're saying it's a mistake, but isn't that like the feeling you're getting? You can say it's a mistake, and you can also think that that's where they're going.
No, I don't think that's the feeling I'm getting. I think the J League situation is like a license negotiation that just dragged on. That's all.
Yeah, but like this feels like a when Prem decision because the deadline's been like this for a year and a half.
The Sorare Prem deadline is going to be way earlier than the FPL deadline. So like, I'm not even sure it really matters. Like, I actually think the deadline they chose is a weird one because, I mean, maybe there are games that start that early. I'm trying to see here. I guess we have a Croatia game that starts at 11 a.m. this Friday. So I guess you can't go much, and then a Turkey game at noon. So I guess you can't push it that. So I guess theoretically that is 1 hour before the first game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think the decision was made to make it easier for European and American players, for sure.
I we're talking about just Asia getting fucked. I think America gets fucked too also because if you're moving J League, then you're completely nerfing the amount of teams on the during the summer, which is when America plays too. So like global is going to be impacted heavily during the summer, more so than it would be during other times of the year because you're removing a third of the team. So effectively a third of the cards in the prize pool are going to be gone because they're not going to reward them.
Yeah, I think the only hope is that they add like all of Argentina or all of Brazil.
But that's not even hope though. Like you're just trying to get back to like the level you were at, right? Like you're just trying to like get back to where you were.
How many J League teams are there?
20. Yeah, I think they went back. They might have went back to 18 this year.
18.
There was 20.
Yeah.
I think it's 18 now.
Yeah, it is.
So like you're lose like in the summer months you have, let's say, 60 teams licensed, so you just lost a third of them. And like you get all of Argentina, like you get it back, but like you don't like see it, you just like get it back, and Asia's still fucked in that situation.
Yeah, I think if there's a region to screw, it's Asia. And you're going to say the solution is not to screw anyone, but I don't know.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
I actually thought you froze for a second. That was an incredibly long time to stay still.
You shouldn't screw anyone over. Is the answer.
Yes,
but
of course.
There is a discussion. Like this is another discussion. They're going to lose licenses at some point.
Yes.
They're going to lose licenses. It just is a lot more. Like they lost some of the Italian teams this year.
They lost PSG and then got it back.
We don't know that they lost PSG.
I mean, it wasn't renewed a year after they originally got it.
We don't know that. We just can assume that. I don't think many people put that 2 and 2 together, but I think that like we can put 2 and 2 together. Like there's a reason why PSG wasn't like cards didn't start in the auction market till like November or December.
Right.
Other people, I don't.
Did you notice that they are going to have a Ligue 1 common game, but they had to call it something else?
No, I didn't notice that. There was so much other nonsense in this update that I literally do not give a shit. I can't keep up with all the other. Like there's like 18 cat modes now. I don't know. I can't be bothered.
I actually do want to go into that specifically because of you. Here it says, Sorare managers compete in the German Bundesliga, Italian Serie A, Spanish La Liga, and the first league in France. It has a very Super Bowl, big game, World Cup, Global Cup vibe to it.
I mean, whatever.
Oh yeah, someone just brought a Mineiro license wasn't renewed.
Yeah, so like if it's one team,
thank you to my 13% Everson.
If you're losing an entire league, that's just it's so much more impactful in like Asia or America where there's not many licensed teams. The rewards there already are relatively small compared to the amount of cards and players that can field lineups there. It's already really small, and now it's just going to be like non-existent. But yeah, so like they're going to lose licenses. There's got to be some way to like. I don't know. It's worrisome to me if you can just lose license and boom, whole region's dead. Like that's a worry to me.
Yeah, I mean, it really only applies to Japan and Korea, though, right?
No, America's pretty light. I mean,
if they lose MLS, then that's a killer. Yeah.
Like if they lose MLS, like America's fucked.
Right.
I think they should actually combine Asia and America. I made that comment the other day because I think it would limit that impact. And plus, they play at the same time of the year for the most part.
Yeah.
It makes sense from a relationship standpoint that you would like lump them together. The regions are just those two regions are really small compared to the other stuff. I'm not saying like they should, but
like America could be huge. They just don't have all the licenses. Like there are a ton of teams in Brazil and Argentina, Peru, who's not playing now, Chile, who's not playing now because of something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Alex
said they could go get the clubs individually.
Alex says he thinks that MLS is a long-term thing. I don't know if MLS is a long-term thing. I don't think any of these deals have been more than like 2 or 3 years.
We have no idea.
We have no idea, but like that's just my assumption. Is like I mean, what? No, didn't they announce La Liga was like 3 years or something when they came out with it?
Maybe. I remember every time they made an announcement, I thought it was so funny when everybody talked about it, and they were like, "Really, the most important thing here is that it's exclusive." And it's like, I don't think it matters.
No, it's just long-term deal is definitely like I'd like to see them like 4 to 6 years if it's possible.
Yeah, exclusivity. Like I realize Sorare doesn't have many competitors now, and so like maybe the exclusivity in these deals ensures that. But I don't know. It seems funny to me that people are like I guess I just come from the idea of like just physical cards. Like previously, there were a bunch of different companies that made the same types of cards, and nobody like complained all that much. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so I like this. Isn't it around now that we hear the card designs that we see the card designs for the new seasons? Because normally they start with the Asian leagues.
Do they start with Asia?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Which is true. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
it
don't
makes
think they
sense.
want to do it that way, but they kind of have to just based on time.
Well, they should do it for Europe. Maybe they won't.
Right.
Maybe they'll do it for Europe. But it does make sense because at this time of the year, you have more time to go over that stuff. Charlie said it was March last year. It does make sense at this time of the year because, like, if you do it this time of the year, like, you have a bit more time to, like, you have a bit more time to, like, actually work on it because there's not as much going on. Like, you're not really, like, releasing stuff right now.
Yeah. A quick thing separately from all of this. Sean, here is how we play now. Does this make any sense to you?
No, none. I saw it earlier and I was like, what is this?
I missed it.
What is this? I
was listening. This is like some sort of maze that Sorare published on their announcement today of all the cap modes and what you can win and how you progress. And somebody described it as how you eventually become Zora, which is nice. From limited to Zora, here's the path. One of the things that got me on this announcement, other than the fact that I thought it was extremely confusing, and I consider myself a somewhat intelligent person. I'm not smart, but somewhat intelligent. And it just feels overly complicated. And another comment that I saw in a Discord was somebody was like, I'm going to need a lot more goalies. And it's funny because we see all these new competitions and our immediate response is like, how do I play them all? But like, we don't have to play them all.
My response was, I don't care. That was my response.
Like,
I'm like, I don't understand this shit. Here's the point. Like, I literally, they haven't announced rewards, right? Like, I have no idea how terrible these are going to be.
I don't think we have the calendar yet for the next, like 340. Actually, is 341 the first threshold? I'm looking at the calendar now.
I don't understand. I don't.
Maybe 340.
341 was.
Oh yeah, 341 is January 31st. So
yeah,
I assume it's the next game week. So our next calendar, we'll find out. But I don't know. It just seems like
said, I'll play them all because I'm addicted, Steven. I'll play them all because I have the cards to play them all.
Right, you have the cards. Yeah,
yeah.
It's a lot more work. It seems like we already have like a prioritization. Like that's all this is everything with our cards. If you have a big enough gallery, it just becomes like a prioritization game.
Yeah, correct.
And now we just have like more places to prioritize. And I think probably the most important thing every game week that we should all do first, and I know a lot of people do this now, but those who don't, you should just look at the rewards first.
Oh, I just realized they're having 4 different unique cap modes.
Yes.
I didn't even realize it. Interesting. Yep. Who knows? I don't have enough. I probably can't play. I literally can't play at least 3 of these. I can't play limited. I can't play kickoff, or I can't play the rares. I maybe can play the rares to some extent at certain times of the year.
You can play anything but kickoff.
Yeah, I can't play kickoff, period. I literally cannot play kickoff. But I can't play limiteds. I don't have enough. I don't care enough to go buy limiteds and play limited stuff. I can't do super rares because I don't think I have that many super rares. And I can't do uniques because I definitely don't have enough uniques. I'll be able to play like some. So like Steven just said, I can play them all. I'll be able to play like some. Like I'll be able to play like cap 270 and super rare. But like I might not be able to play cap 240 and 220 because I don't have enough cards. Or like I definitely can't play all that stuff in the super because I definitely don't have enough goalies for that. And the uniques, like I definitely don't have enough goalies for that either.
Someone you and I both know thinks this is the beginning of the end of Rare Pro, which I imagine is this pinkish, purplish.
Yeah, I mean, that would probably make me want to sell up, honestly. And I don't say that often, but if there's no Rare Pro, I don't really see the point being on the platform.
It's really tough to go from 5 rares to 5 super rares.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think they realize
progression. The whole idea is progression. You remove progression.
Well, they're going to claim you have progression in cap 240 and cap 270 where you can win super rares. But like
if you win the competition out of 500 people, you get a tier 3 super rare.
even if it's a tier 1 super rare, even if it's a star,
yeah,
you still need 4 more super rares before you can even enter the next one.
Yeah. No, them getting rid of Rare Pro would probably be me exiting the platform. It'd definitely be a consideration more than it ever has been. And like, I think you talked to a lot of people. I would say I am very low on the list of anyone that's ever said, like, I'm going to sell up or I'm done. Would you agree? Like, I don't say that.
I mean, I think just based off of your gallery and the fact that you still acquire cards is proof of that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I don't even say it. Like, a lot of people say it and, like, don't mean it or whatever. Like, I don't even say it. Like, I really have no intentions of selling. If they got rid of the Rare Pro division, there's probably a pretty good chance I'm leaving the platform. Unless they come up with ideas that make sense. I don't think they really have an idea that would make sense for it, because I don't see progression. Like you said, it's really difficult from going from 5 rares to 5 super rares. Like, that's really damn hard.
The progression is just you follow the arrow on this chart. It's like this.
Yeah, that's stupid as fuck. But
no, but we noticed it right away with NBA. As soon as they, like, in NBA, they have a contest that is all 5 rares, and the top people win super rares. And it's like, I won a super rare early on.
Yeah,
and it was like, I had no intention of playing super rare, and it's like, now I have to buy 4 more super rares just to use this card that I won.
No, you just sell it.
It's just not. I did sell it, but it was just like, it's winning a card that, and obviously, if you have patience and you win a card in a year, maybe you can play. Like, it's just, that's not, people don't play that way.
People are saying in chat that you only need 4 supers, guys. That doesn't matter much. That's still 4. Like, you're buying a lot of super rares in that situation. Like, it's just not a good thing. But actually,
wait, why do we only have to win 4?
Yeah, you'd have to win 4. So, like, in 3 years, once you finally won 4 super rares, you can move up to the super rare division.
No, but I'm saying, why do you only need 4? Why don't you need 5?
I don't know. Apparently, that's in the verbiage. I haven't fully read everything yet.
Yeah, Percha was saying that for kickoff you need 1 super rare, and then
I can't even play kickoff, so that doesn't matter.
Cap 220 you need 4, not 5. Okay, so if you have a really bad super rare, you can play Cap 220, which does not allow you to win a unique.
Correct.
This is
it's it's confusing.
I was just thinking to myself, like, I should have taken more time to, like, go over this so we could discuss it. But, like, I feel like this is something that I should read it and be like, okay, I know exactly what's going on.
Correct.
And I'm like more confused the more I do. I should just read it. But,
like, I don't know. I had other issues today that I had to bitch about to fully worry about all this nonsense that I don't really care about and don't think it'll impact me. Like, yeah, like, what is that? Like, that's a limited thing, right?
These are the commons that you play, but they're actually getting rid of all the commons. Maybe. I think the biggest thing out of this is that there had been talk previously that the cap mode was going to be like the standard mode, that people were starting to worry about that with, like, how NBA did it. And that, yeah, there were a lot of people who were like, cap mode is just going to be the mode that we all play soon. And everybody who, like, bought all the best cards because you can just pay to win are going to be upset. And I don't think they ever get rid of that. But I mean, it is very clear that cap modes are a huge priority now for Sorare.
I think that's so stupid, though, because it's just going to be, you're just going to be like, all right, this guy has a 0L10. I can play anyone I want. Done.
Yeah, it doesn't happen enough, though.
Every week.
But, like, it's not guys that, you don't get Florian Wirtz every week.
You literally get guys like that every week. You just have to find them. It doesn't matter if you're L10-0 and you fucking put up, and you're a 45 average player and you're going to start. It doesn't matter. You play them, and then boom, you can play anyone you want.
I mean, you still need the other cards. Like, you still need players.
Yeah, so you still need the alpha cards. Yeah. I don't know. The cap mode is fine. It's just, if it becomes the, like, go-to mode. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It makes it more competitive. Steven said there are too many cat modes. I agree with that. There's like 8 cat modes in each scarcity now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're also apparently doing monthly and seasonal leaderboards, which like, okay. That's actually like it's just me. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I find that stuff completely worthless. I can't stand like multi-week or month competitions. If I wanted that, I would just play FPL.
I mean, if I can win reward, it doesn't impact you though, because you're just making your lineups and then you're just part of that competition.
Right.
Rigo Man says 3 cat modes are a good way to give all cards use. That is true. Like, I mean, it gives you a lot more flexibility to play a lot of different cards. Like, because 270 cap is what, 54 average? Yeah, 54 average. So like, if you have a 54 average, you put one like 35 in there, boom, you have like, you can play whatever you want. Like, you have like 60, 62 average or whatever from everyone else. So like, yeah, I mean, I do agree with that. And maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. It's so like, I think you've said this before, and I tend to agree with this. You shouldn't be completely revamping the game every year. And like, this just feels like another complete revamp of the game if this became like the go-to mode. And it might be like, that's the thing, is we don't know. If this is the go-to mode, like, it all depends what the rewards are. If the rewards are way better in this than they are in the regionals, you're going to prioritize this. You're going to treat this as the go-to mode. And for me, like, I don't know, it's just very, very extensive. I think new users are just going to have an incredibly difficult time to understand it.
So who was it? Steven pointed this out, which I also think is kind of funny. Cap mode 270, XP and captains count.
Yeah.
So like, I think that the only reason why the XP doesn't count in the other ones, at least in the 240, which is
XP doesn't count. I didn't know XP didn't count. So
why does XP like the threshold XP doesn't count? 240.
Oh.
So like, the only reason they don't want that to count is because they don't want people scoring to 240.
Correct.
Because then they have to pay them.
Correct.
So like, in competitions where we're all playing against each other and not Sorare, they're like, yeah, take all the XP you want, score 1 million points, we don't care. Yeah, I don't know. I was going somewhere else. Somebody made a comment, and
Germ asked, with so many cap competitions, should they change scoring from 0 up to 100? No, I think their scoring is so much better than any other fantasy platform scoring for the football product. It's why I'm here. I like their scoring, the way they do things. Like, in basketball, if you don't have a player, you lose. It's that simple. Like, if you are on a certain week and like you don't have, like, I know TJ McConnell went off for like 70 on Monday. So if you don't have TJ McConnell, you're not winning. Like, yeah, you can still get a card. This game mode, at least, like, it makes it so that all your guys have to be relevant. You can't just like put it away. Like, I don't want to have a game where it's like, all right, Mbappe scored 200. Literally, you can't win without having him. That's not fun to me. I want guys to be capped at like a certain level. Like, if you put up 100, it's a damn good score and you're in a great position. But you're not in a position where like literally no one can catch you. And to me, that's important.
Yeah. Mickey Fu was saying people were complaining about them getting rid of underdog and specialist, and these are essentially the replacements, which I think is exactly right.
For now, but it could be like eventually they become the main game modes.
Yeah. But I like the thought of like, I'm upset that I can't play underdog anymore. And it's like cap 220 is underdog.
Yeah. Correct.
That's all it is. Although I assume you need 5 players. But again, haven't read the rules.
Yeah, no idea.
Owner's saying, I don't understand why XP doesn't count. XP doesn't count. I think it's just in cap mode 240.
Because it doesn't count because they don't want to pay you. They don't want you to hit 240. The other game modes, they don't care because they're not paying you ETH.
Right.
So that game mode doesn't count because they don't want to pay you the ETH that you won. Which is fine. I'm fine with that. Like,
it does confirm that in the threshold competitions, you can win cards of the higher scarcity, which is nice.
Correct.
I assume that that's what those arrows mean.
I assume that's what the arrow means, and I assume that it's under both cap 240 and cap 270. Like, it would mean that you do win cards in the above scarcity. But the issue is, like, their viewpoints of like cards in the above scarcity that you win is different than like reality, because like, if I'm going to win a tier 3 super, I don't give a shit, because that's not going to help me win. Like if you are literally trying to progress and you win a tier 3 super rare for a podium in Cat 240, you sure shit aren't progressing by winning that. Like, just is what it is. But I will say, like, I do think they have at least understood that you can't give a tier 0 or like a tier 2 super rare and then give like a tier 1 rare. They're going to do it where you get like a tier 0 rare and a tier 1 super rare. So like at least you're getting like a good card from that perspective.
Yeah, so a few people pointed out, and I was just looking at, so no XP or captain in 220 either. 220 or 240, but yes in 270.
Yeah, I don't understand that. It makes no sense, but whatever.
I think it's
Rico
I think
Man
it's
says
because you
if
can
you
use a
win
comp.
or you can go to Cap 220 super rare. Yeah, you can always go to a division and region and not win. Like I can plug a lot of shit cards in wherever and not win. The idea is like you want to win cards and keep progressing. And if you are winning tier 3s for the next scarcity up that you don't have, it's not going to help you win. You're literally going to play a whole year and not win a card.
Mike was saying you can progress to enter by winning cards, but you can't progress to compete.
Correct, which is the problem.
Which is great.
You're literally like it's not progression because you're just winning a card that it doesn't matter. You just can't win with. So it's like you're not progressing. You're just getting a card of a different scarcity. That's like literally it. Now, hey, we don't know. Like maybe they're gonna give out tier 1 super rares or tier 0 super rares, and you can legit like progress. But you're gonna have to like win the Cap 270 or Cap 240 game mode, and it's gonna be hard, especially the 240 game mode where there's a threshold.
Are they actually paying out uniques in all of these unique cap modes?
I don't know.
That's a lot of uniques to give away.
I don't think they can. Because you'd have to give out like tier 0 uniques. They'd have to like not sell uniques anymore, which I can't imagine they would do that.
There was just a very clear, where was it now that I've lost it, that they were like, you will win the scarcity that you're playing. Because otherwise, the bottom of this chart here is where all of your star super rares are going, rewards-wise.
You're talking about in the unique game modes?
Unique, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should discuss this more after we know what the hell is going on.
Will we understand what the hell is going on?
That's a good point. We'll be back in 6 months when we've all played it and they've changed the rules again.
Correct.
For the summer schedule. No,
by the way, I like how you thought we were going to talk about the actual topic today. There was no chance we were going to talk about the topic today.
To be honest, I thought it was going to. I think we would have completely talked about this topic had the deadline not changed.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if all of this was the same, but we also and there was nothing about the deadline.
Correct.
We would have talked about all the great Asia cards. I would have dropped the whole Alexandru Maxim that was the thumbnail because I own that card and is just way too underpriced for the scores. But like we just didn't get there because those cards lost so much. Yeah,
that's fair.
Oh yeah, and they're redoing training, which they announced that they'll have an announcement.
And you don't even need training for half these divisions,
right? That's my favorite part.
Like I don't know. I'm mixed on training, right? Because it's annoying as fuck. It sucks. But I know by doing it, it actually gives me an advantage. So like I do it every week except for one during the Global Cup because I just could not do it. But so like I'm torn whether or not just like get rid of it and give everyone their normal percentage or keep it, incentivize people to keep putting in the effort. Because it takes me 30 minutes every game week to do my training lives. But I know that 30 minutes I spend in the long term will help me. And that's where that like I don't know what I would want to see out of training. I do know it's annoying as shit though.
I will say that I hate training, but I love XP.
Yeah.
That's how I put it. Nellis mentioned on his podcast the other day, somebody was like, do you think they'll get rid of XP? And he was like, I will just lose it. And I agree with him. But I only say that because I now have like cards on level 20. So it was like, it felt better for that. Anyway, thank you to everybody for joining us live. I see like 3 times more people watching right now than have liked the video. So if you guys could please like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It'd be odd to be an hour and 5 minutes into the show and not subscribe. So please do that. I do think we're going to talk about this a little more. We're going to have some more cap mode content now that we have some details on that in the coming, well, it's like 12 days, 13 days is when the new game week.
We need to see what the rewards pools
Yep.
look like first, because like we can't really give any opinions or ideas until we know what the rewards look like.
Yes. Well, yes, that's true. We also are, SorareData is working on some stuff. I've had a lot of people like contact me. They're like, hey, it'd be really cool if you guys did this for cap mode, or if you did this. Like, we're working on a lot of stuff, I promise. And so I've had a lot of requests for like Excel spreadsheets or CSVs so that people can, I'm like, what we do, a lot of what we do is based on not having to use spreadsheets. And so we have some tools coming. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I'll be back. Well, if you're in NBA, there's a show later today. If you're listening, or if you're watching this live or listening on Wednesday. And then Andy and I will be here for Sorare Andrews sometime tomorrow. And then Sean and I will be back next week, maybe with some clarity on how to play 17,000 competitions in every game week. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll